Hey everyone, and welcome to the Eve Echoes weekly roundup for the week ending the 16th of July 2023. In these videos, I just go over the news ever so briefly for Eve Echoes to help you guys stay up to date, and then round it off with the developer Q&A. So without any further ado, let's get started, shall we? So first and foremost, we've had the patch for this week. Nothing really important to point out, a bunch of bug fixes. Yeah, that's all it was really, bug fixes, optimizations, market records. You guys know where to find it in the patch notes and in-game and on Discord and so on and so on. Not much to say about this one. But at the same time as the patch, we did have a privacy policy update, which was broadcast to us in-game via the in-game mail. If this is something that concerns you, feel free to open up that mail and click on the new privacy policy. It is presumed that you will accept it if you carry on playing the game, is probably how it's going. So of course, that's that little bit of jargon out of the way. Next up, we have not that screen that I pulled up just then, but the Plex report. It turns out I've got my screenshots in the wrong order for this one. So for the Plex report, Plex does appear to be falling. It's been holding for the past several weeks at around 4.8, 4.9 million ISK per Plex. At this point in time, it appears to be around 4.5 million ISK, with a little bit of an undersell on the market at 4.3. So 4.5 million ISK, round it up to say 4.6 just in case, I'm taking the screenshot at exactly the wrong time, a really optimistic time. But whichever way you look at it, Plex price is slowly coming down. So of course, let's move on to the questions and answers for this week. So let's start with question number 1, answered by NetEase Paulin. We can create up to 3 chat channels for our specific goals. What prevents you from implementing the function of deleting the channels we created, but that we don't need anymore? Answer. Thank you for your question. At the moment, we don't have a way to delete chat channels. However, the creator of the channel can change the channel name and the members to repurpose it. Okay, that's not something I was aware of, but hey ho. For those that do lots of admin and leadership stuff and controlling communications, yeah, I guess that could come in handy. So let's move on to the second question, and if I had to guess, I'd say all of this week's questions are answered by a same developer again. This time's NetEase's Paulin. So question number 2. In terms of electronic warfare, would it be possible to create for freighters only a skill set for modules that can block the effects of stasis webifiers, warp jammers, interdiction bubbles? This means invulnerability module could be activated for 10 seconds and have a reactivation time of 90 seconds. Freighters are among the slowest and vulnerable ships in Eve Echoes and possess no module slots for protection. Yeah, there's a reason why they have no module slots for protection. It's because you're not meant to use them solo. We have to remember that this is not a solo game. This is a group MMO game where if you want to be able to use big stuff like this, you need to have friends around you. You need to organise some scouts, some DPS, some logi. You want to make sure that you're not on your own. All of your friends are going to be the ones carrying the modules. And if you don't want to be slow boating it between gates, you can always grind a little bit more and wait until you get a hold of a jump freighter. Just saying, But anyway, let's move on to the answer. Freighters are heavy, but high defence transport capital ships in design that lack protection measures and therefore need protection from other combat ships. Having enhancement modules is a good idea, but modules blocking stasis webifiers, warp jammers and interdiction bubbles may be too powerful. We understand your concern, so we will release other modules in the future to enhance capital ships, including freighters. For now, we recommend that pilots not fly freighters alone and always travel under the protection of their teammates. So that's exactly what I was saying, and I do like how they're saying we'll look at options in the future to help you improve the defence and capabilities of your freighters, but immunity to stasis webifiers, warp jammers and interdiction bubbles may be too powerful. Just imagine for a sec being able to AFK autopilot a freighter all the way through nullsec. And the moment you land in a bubble or on a gate camp where someone tries to warp scramble you, you just wait until you're fully aligned, hit that button, and then you warp during your 10-second immunity. It's just bonkers. It would eliminate all of the risk value to flying a freighter through nullsec. So I completely agree with this question. So let's move on, shall we, to the next question once I zoom out far enough to actually move along. There we go. As I've said before, I'm not an expert in using this computer. So, question number 3. With the development of the corporation tech tree, it will be increasingly difficult for two corporations with developed tech trees to merge into one. Like changing corporation names, is it possible to implement a reset button with a Plex fee to return a percentage of the amount invested? I don't like the sounds of this one, because if you're investing in the corporation tree, you're investing in your corporation's future. It gives you a reason not to be the one that dissolves during a merger. And yeah, only invest in this corporation tree if you're setting yourself in stone, if you're saying we are not going anywhere, we are staying as we are as this corporation under this name. But let's see what they have for an answer. Thank you for your suggestion. We will discuss the feasibility of implementing a return. We need to make sure that this feature is not misused, and that is understandable. Netties do seem to be a bit less constrained when it comes to these things. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we were allowed to reclaim, say, 20% of the corporation's value or something. But that's the only way you're going to stop it from being misused. If you allow it to take into account 100% of the corporation's investment value, then it'll just be used as a bank, nothing more. Anyway, moving on to question number 4. Hello, are there any plans in the future for faction dreadnoughts? Or dreadnought-specific modules, much like the combat modules for the existing carriers and super capitals? I guess that should be saying super carriers, but hey ho. Thank you for your question. At the moment, we don't have any plans to develop faction dreadnoughts in the short term. Our focus is currently on introducing non-capital ships. However, we continue to release more new ships. We will definitely come back to a capital ship version in the future. And as a pilot who barely flies a capital ship and actually dreads getting in one, I do like that statement. I really, really do. However, so hold on, where were we? Our focus is currently on introducing non-capital ships. Bear that in mind, guys. They might end up just being battleships because we know they'd seem to favour them, but they are stating right here, our sole focus isn't capital ships. That should make a fair few of us happy. But anyway, let's not ramble too much on that question. Question number 5, I believe we're on. Once again answered by Paulin. There was no comment as to who answered the previous question, but I presume it was Paulin once again. Hello, my question for the devs is regarding personally owned stations. The refuelling can be problematic because there is no clear way to separate fuels intended to be used and fuels you don't want to use. If you place plasmoids in the hangar and the fuel bay, then press the station's refuel button, both will be used. Additionally, docked ships currently being piloted will also consume any fuel in the cargo hold. While obviously not the biggest problem currently, could we expect this process to be made more user-friendly in the future? Answer is thank you for bringing this issue to our attention. We will definitely look into it and see if we can find ways to solve it. Currently, we suggest pilots to choose the most cost-effective fuel from their inventory and refuel manually. Yeah, Personally, as a outpost owner, I've never actually used the refuel button for the outpost itself ever since that was introduced. I've only just dumped all of the fuel in the fuel bay and left it there, as it was before this button was introduced. As for fueling up my ships myself, I always go straight to the stack of fuel that I want to work with and select that fuel and click refuel ship or refuel, whatever the name of the button is. That's what I always do. I never let the game choose for me which fuel I want to consume, because it varies on your situation, and the game isn't always going to know your situation and which fuel you're holding on to for what reason. So to avoid this, just go straight for the fuel yourself and tell the game what fuel you want to be consuming at that point in time. Easiest way around it for refueling ships. As for the refueling of the outpost and it drawing it from multiple places, yeah, at least they're acknowledging that they've got something that they're going to look at fixing. Can't really complain there. But that's it for today's developer Q&A. If you want to hear more of these from a somewhat more optimistic soul than certain other YouTuber, then feel free to hit that subscribe button. Until then, I'll see you guys in the next video. Fly safe.